Hello, and welcome back to Cultivating Courage, where we help individuals and organizations break barriers to their success, bolster their belief for greater confidence, and build brave behavior to optimize their life, thereby creating belonging internally and externally in community. Jaleesa Dallas here. If you are new to me, welcome. I'm excited that you are here, and I look forward to delving into this conversation about confidence and how actually confidence is the byproduct of courage. We hear a lot about be more confident, do confident things, and it's like, how? How do we do that? So if you're a part of my subscription list, as far as my newsletter is concerned, you got a little bit of that information yesterday, but I want to dig a little deeper or put a full scope around what I mean when I say that confidence is actually the byproduct of courage. So stay tuned. I'm excited that you're here. And before we jump into this conversation, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone you know. If you've been around for a while, you know that I love talking about cultivating courage in your business and leadership and relationships. It's all about looking at how we live, love, and lead. And so that's encompassing of cultivating courage. It's looking at that inner critic to identify the barriers that keep us from the life that we deserve, those areas that need confrontation, what we've been avoiding. Then going into emotional intelligence and looking at those 5 components of self-awareness, self-management, motivation, empathy, and relationship management. And then diving into, again, what it means to live, love, and lead. Looking at resilience and how we can build that up within ourselves, at our capacity and things that we can be grateful for, the relationships we develop and build and how those influence how we navigate life, and then our leadership. How are we being an example to those around us? Without further ado, I am looking forward to digging deeper into this conversation of confidence being the byproduct of courage. So, for those who are new to me, you may not know that I was a first generation college graduate. And so I was the trailblazer, trendsetter for what it meant to pursue a college degree. Since then, though, my mother and my sister have pursued their degrees. Being that trailblazer, trendsetter, it took a lot because I was the eldest. My mother was a single parent raising my siblings and I. And so it was a little bit of a stretch for me to get to where I am today, because as you could potentially think, there are a lot of statistics around, let's just say, my upbringing, the experiences of my upbringing. I was a student in a program called Student Support Services, a federal TRIO program that supported first generation, low income, and or students with learning or physical disability. And in that environment, I was surrounded by peers that had similar circumstances as me. Again, first in their family, may have come from a low income background. And so that experience really pushed me, propelled me to lean into my gifts and talents. For me, courage was really the only option. I had to be the one to take the first step. Now, granted, my mom was a phenomenal part of that process because she gave me what she knew, at least. She had experience in college and knew that funding was a necessity in order for me to get to college. And so we applied to likely over 75 different scholarships. And at the end of the day, I got between $10,000 and $15,000 in scholarships for my first year. And from there, I made sure that I maximized my resources and leveraged what I had before me. And I became a resident assistant, so at least that could cover my housing while I was at school. So that minimized the cost of student loans that I did still have to take out. But it took for those steps of courage, those instances of taking risks, of stepping outside of my comfort zone, of getting uncomfortable, and also being authentic. I had to be true to who I really was at that time. And it took a lot of self-discovery and understanding who I was to become who I am today. So when you think about Go Brave, confidence is embedded in that, and thereby courage. So when you break down the acronym of Go Brave, for those who are not familiar, they have meaning. Each letter has a meaning. And so I'm going to tell you the first three, which is growth mindedness, optimism, specifically of your vision, and boldness in your taking risks. And those three components are what create confidence, and thereby build out, or are built out by the courage that we develop over time, because courage is a skill. It can be cultivated. Hence what we talk about all the time here. But when I talk about growth mindedness, I'm talking about basically what Dr. Carol Dweck talks about in her book entitled Mindset. And so what she talks about is that there are 5 components of growth mindedness. And that includes one of which is learning. We have to be always willing to learn, and then sometimes to unlearn. Making progress, not allowing perfectionism to steer us off course, but rather recognizing that progression is, or should be, priority. Looking at effort as something that is applied, because a lot of times when you have a fixed mindset, which is the opposite, we think that effort means that we're just not good enough. It's just not for us. We didn't develop that skill. But in actuality, effort really just gives us the ability to challenge ourselves so that we can actually do the work and be effective in growing in the work that we're doing. Planning is a big part of growth mindedness, having a bit of foresight and really writing down actionable plans to get you from A to B. And then also being receptive to feedback and constructive criticism. Again, knowing who you're getting that from, being very aware of who that is and at what season in your life that you are receiving that feedback, just being discerning of that as well. And so those are the instances of growth mindedness. And then we have optimization, or optimize your vision, meaning that we're looking at the most positive outlook of a circumstance. And I like to think of it as vision oversight. And I talk about this in chapter 3 of my book entitled Soul Work: Disrupt Self-Sabotage, Renew Your Mind, and Transform Your Life. And so in chapter 3, I talk about 5 strategies to disrupt self-sabotage. And so one of which is having vision oversight. It's not that we don't embrace our reality and we overlook it for what's in the future, but that we see above our reality, because our reality is temporary. Granted, there might be seasons where it's long and it seems drawn out, but we don't necessarily have to stay in the reality that is presented to us. We can believe for a future that looks different than what we are currently experiencing. Now, I'm not saying dwell on the future, because we definitely want to be present, but having optimism, that vision, and having something that's, I would say, spiritually sustainable. Because as a believer, I want to think about, okay, what is abundant? What is the expectation that I can have of God fulfilling certain things in my life and outcomes? And so that's what it means to optimize your vision. And then boldness is the part of not simply being brash and being just overdone, but those quiet moments of being authentic, showing up as your full self, communicating and sharing the right things, being truthful and having integrity. So those things are really what build confidence. And preceding that is courage, because that's that willingness to take the risks that are necessary to build the practice of what confidence is. Because we always get the be more confident, or, you should try this and try that. But the how is taking that risk step by step. And really, even before that, it's the preparation. You think about a job, you might want to apply for a job, and that's great. But what do we have to do beforehand? We have to prepare. Do we have the skills to actually be a qualified person for the job? Now, granted, I'm not talking about miraculous things and God putting you in position, but I'm talking about more a more practical sense. Do we have the skills, the knowledge, the ability to actually be successful in that role? Because we can apply for things all the time, but if we don't have what it takes to actually fulfill the responsibilities of the role, we have not effectively prepared for it. So you can have confidence going into an interview if we've effectively prepared for it. That means doing research of an organization to make sure that it's not just a good fit for them, but that it's a good fit for you. So when it comes to confidence, that courageous act is preparation in order to even get you in the room. Filling out the application is one part, but getting you in the room is another part. Making sure that you're actually qualified and prepared to actually take on the role. In a nutshell, when we're talking about confidence, a lot of that has to do with the courageous steps that you do in preparation in order to build the practice of being more confident. It takes experience, it takes understanding, it does take knowledge, competence to be more confident. But until we put into practice the courage that's required, we will find ourselves delayed in confidence. Let's just say, I know from lived experience, and I've been able to build it as a result. And so I hope that this was helpful to you. For those who are looking at wanting to be more brave and doing so on purpose, June 10th is our next session for Brave on Purpose, the first step towards values aligned leadership. And I want to give you an overview of what it looks like to be courageous, the climate that we're in and why that's necessary, leadership, and what leadership looks like when we have the right values and when we implement them and the influence that we have as a result. And then I want to give you the 7 anchors of courageous leadership, and then talk to you about what I shared earlier about what it means to cultivate courage and what that could potentially look like for you, your teams, your organizations, wherever you feel the necessity to apply courage in your leadership. So again, hope this was helpful. I would encourage you to visit www.gobravellc.com for more information on that informational and ways that you can partner with me on that. And until next time, let your soul work be your best work to a better you. And then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone you know. Have a great one.